Hey folks, welcome to Good Enough Stuff. So second channel, Good Enough Customs is the primary channel. So this channel, pretty much I'm just going to kind of cover random stuff that I do, not vehicle related. Yeah, sometimes it'll be vehicle related, but I do a lot of other stuff too. So case in point, I've got all of this stuff laid out here. So I've got 8 10 by 48 sheets, 18 gauge steel, and then I've got I think it's 128 3 by 5 inch pieces that have been cut. Shout out to TriStar Metals in Shelbyville. They did all the cutting for me. Now, unfortunately, though, they did tell me that their metal shear is a little dull. So there's a little cleanup on my end I got to do. So there's a bunch of them that are, you know, the ends are curled over and the cuts are kind of garbage. The big sheets aren't too bad, but these little ones, boy, they're rough. Some of them are really nice. Like that one's not too bad. It's a little bent, but it's not too bad. But yeah, some of these are pretty doggone rough. And then I got another little stack over here, right there. There were just some still good ones in there, but most of those are pretty bad. So I just kind of tossed them to the side. I had them cut 144 for me. Only needed 128. It just worked out because 144 was half a sheet of 4x8 sheet metal. So you may be asking yourself, what the hell is he doing with all that stuff? Well, I haven't mentioned much of what I do for my 9-to-5 job. I work for an internet service provider, and so we have a bunch of cabinets all throughout our service area, and we're having to mount some equipment and do some things in these cabinets that aren't quite what they're designed to do. So we didn't have a good way to stack some equipment in there. So I was sitting there, trying to spitball some ideas on what we could do, and I was like, wait, I can build that. And they're like, what are you gonna build? I was just like, I just need some metal, I'll throw something together. So I built one out of like some 22 gauge steel, and holy crap, that was tough because that 22 gauge is paper thin, so I kept blowing holes in it. But I got some 18 gauge now. So basically what I've got is I got to make 16 shelves, 2 rows of 16 2 rows of 8 shelves along this, and each shelf has to be about 3.5 inches wide and about 1.5 inches tall. It's just going to be a simple L shape. One over here, and then and this is for fiber optic equipment. More specifically, it's for some 1x2 splitters that we have, little bitty cassettes. So got to figure out a way to manage all that, because each 1x2 splitter has 3 tails hanging off of it. So now you're dealing with 8 splitters per shelf times 16 shelves. That's 128 splitters. And then multiply that times 3, and you have a lot. 378, I think. 378, is that right? I don't know. 378 fiber pigtails that you got to deal with. So cable management comes into play. So I'm going to take and bend up some pretty simple little hooks, which I have some already pre-made. Little bitty guys. They're not supporting a ton of weight. I mean, fiber optic, it doesn't weigh much. I actually have some thicker stock that I can use. This is stuff I had to use with that 22 gauge, just because anything bigger, I can get it to stick. So I have some thicker stock. I believe this, which is 1/4 inch stock, I think. I got some 1/4 inch stock I can use. That'll do just fine for that. But the first one I made was, man, it was a mess, because all I could find at the time was I got 2 pieces of 12 by 24 22 gauge, and I was like, I can make this work. So I made it work, and it did not turn out great. It turned out okay. It didn't turn out great. So we've got a bunch of cabinets that are going in that need all these splitters set up, and it worked. The shelf that I made worked really, really well. Just some tweaks that I'm gonna make, that I made to the design. Before, I used actual, like a C type shelf for each one of the things, and I actually miscalculated on my measurements by about 1/8 of an inch, which was just enough to not let everything fit in there. No big deal. I'm just going to leave this one a little bit wide and open on one side. We're just strapping these guys in with some Velcro, or more specifically, hook and loop, stuff. So, so I'm fixing to get started on this. I just got this stuff picked up. I just got the shop cleared out. I got the red truck pulled out so I could work. Thankfully, we haven't really done anything on that yet, like dropping the transmission or anything. Still got to work on that. Who knows? Maybe the training will come out in the driveway today. We'll see. But got that pulled out so I can have some room to work. It's going to take a couple days to go through here and get all this stuff bent and welded and cleaned the edges up and do all that. It's a lot. So anyways, gonna be a lot of time lapse because there's not a whole lot to explain here, but a lot of time lapse. I'll get these edges cleaned up here in just a moment so I'm not slicing my hands up, and then I'll get to measuring and get the bending, and probably tomorrow get the welding. So I guess I'll catch back up with you here in just a little bit. So my forearm's kind of numb. God almighty. I don't know how many of those I had to flatten out, but I kind of show you what I was dealing with. So this is very similar to what most of them were. So you can see it's got that nice little bend to it along the edge. And then of course this end is just all just butchered up. So loud. So their shear is definitely a little dull. My guess is because it didn't really do that on the big sheets. So on these guys, it didn't really butcher it. They're a little rough, but they're not all bent up and beat to pieces. So my guess is they may have been like stacking them real thick to get it cutting, and it was just running out of ass there at the end of it. So anyhow, that's kind of what the result was. A lot of really, really ugly edges and a lot of curled edges. So I don't know. All I know is my hand is really struggling to grip right now, and my forearm is like it's insane. So I ain't used to swinging a hammer that much. Damn. Anyhow, so now I got 128 of those guys stacked up, ready to go, because I have eight brackets I got to make, and each bracket needs 16, so that's 128 if my math is correct. And I'm pretty sure it is because I used a calculator earlier. I had my shoes off and everything. I'm running out of fingers and toes. Dear God. So anyway, so I've got a few left over. What is that left over? 18, is that right? 16 left over. So I got 16 left over. I could technically do one more, which I could kind of replace the one that I've already built. But those, I mean, I was picking cream of the crop out of those 3x5 pieces, and that 128 are the best. The rest of them are like that one I just showed you, or worse. So I don't know. Maybe I'll try and flatten them guys out and flap disc them. I mean, it won't take much more time to do one more than it would to be than just call it good at that point. So we'll see. Maybe, I don't know. Some of them are off or miscut too. Some of them kind of taper towards one end. So that might be a little bit of that might cause a little bit of an issue. So anyways, so that's that. So I guess now I'm gonna get over here with the flap disc and spend the rest of my life, it'll seem, knocking edges down on these guys. It's a lot of edges to knock down. So, oh yeah, a little pointer for you. Don't hit your thumb with that damn hammer. Holy crap. Wasn't paying attention, and I just, right on the tip of my thumb, about as hard as I, you know, not like as hard as I could, but as hard as I was hitting this metal. That hurt. Anyways. So I'm gonna get over here and get the flap discing. Yay. So just remember, anytime you're doing stuff around metal, especially metal, and using flap disc, cutoff wheel, something like that, throw some eyes and ears on. You don't want a random piece of metal going in your eye. That really hurts. And you don't want to have your ears ringing for a couple, 3 days, because you're like, I don't need ear protection. It'll be all right. I may or may not have done that before. So yeah, eyes and ears anytime you run one of these things, just to make sure you're good and safe. So anyhow, I guess nothing to it but to do it. So here we go. All right, folks, so got everything kind of buzzed down, just knocking the edges off, primarily concerned with people cutting fingers, potentially cutting fiber, although I doubt that would happen, but we don't want anybody getting, you know, some boo-boos, workman comp claims. But, so I've gone through, got all these edges buzzed down, so they're relatively smooth, you know, not razor sharp. Got these guys all buzzed down, and yeah, I don't know if you noticed my stand for my angle grinder over here. I just ran two screws on each side, basically butted right up together with each other, and then just zip tied, and that held it in place, so that way I didn't have to hold it, and I could just sit there and use it just kind of as a, you know, kind of as a benchtop sander, grinder, flap disc thing, whatever. So got that done, and it's late. It's like almost 7, I think. It's getting late. it's definitely dinner 30. So fixing to load up and go get some grub, and I'm gonna call that a night for tonight. I'll be back at it tomorrow morning, bright and early ish. And tomorrow we'll get our measurements done, get everything ready to go for where we need to place all the brackets. We'll get the brackets bent up, and potentially go ahead and start getting those guys tacked in, and get this project rolling. So anyways, I guess I'll see y'all guys in the morning, and well, for you guys it'll be just a second or two. All right, folks, next day. Oh, my entire right arm is so sore right now. So I got a couple things to get done. First thing this morning, I've got to get every single one of these little pieces, I've got to get wiped down. Basically, I'm just going to use some shop towels and some lacquer thinner just to wipe down, get all the grease and crap that's on them off. Because some of these are pretty greasy and grimy. There's a lot of metal shavings, bits, whatever, from the flap disc that's on everything. So basically just a little bit of shop upkeep, because I need to sweep up a little bit too, because this stuff is everywhere. But I got to wipe down every single piece, like I said, to get rid of the grease and the grime and all the crap that's on them. That way when it comes time to start welding, I don't have a bunch of, impurities and crap in there that's just going to blow the weld up. So I'm going to get started on that. And then once I get all that done, I'll take and put the small pieces over here on my little metal brake, and get rolling on bending 128 brackets. So we'll catch up here whenever I get back over to the, when I get over to the metal brake. So see you in a second. So now I've gone through and I've cleaned all the pieces. It's a lot. Got them all cleaned up. So now we're about due for metal brake time. So I've got 128 pieces, and 128 3x5s, and basically I need about a 3.5 inch shelf with an 1.5 inch rise on the side. So I'm gonna bend a 1.5 inch bend on this, or maybe I'll set it down where it's 1.5 inch inside and then bend it up. So 3.5 inch base, 1.5 inch rise. That should put us about right on that. So I'll let's see, I got to get this all set up and ready to go, and then we'll get started. I tried stacking all the way across, just little chucks, little pucks all the way across, and did the bend, and this little bar, the hold down bar, I guess you would call it, started deflecting, as did this, the back piece right here, the bends, started deflecting. So I got a lot of really just terrible bends. So I guess we're doing these one at a time, just to make sure that they're nice and consistent and got nice 90-degree bends in them. So what I did is I measured down 1.5 inches, set one in, and basically just traced it. And so that gets me pretty doggone close on all of them. So I can just go through here and just pop this, slide it in, get it lined up, clamp it down, bend it, toss it to the side, do the same, bend it, So I don't know, there's 115 or so to go. So yeah, that really sucks. I hate it. I mean, can't really expect a whole lot out of a $50 metal brake, Harbor Freight, made out of Chinesium. So yeah, this piece right here just started deflecting, which is really weird considering it's got this angle iron, built into it. Coming back here on this, I don't know, what is that? 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch? Nah, it's more than 1/8. 3/16, I guess. I think it's 3/16. Piece of bar back here, and it's got a 3/16 No, not even 3/16, probably 1/8 inch angle iron welded to it, to this piece of 3/16. So she's not as strong as it needs to be in order to do a bunch of individuals. I'm sure if I had one solid piece that went across and I clamped it on the ends and in the center, I might be able to get away with it. But since I'm running individuals, there's just too much movement across all of them. So anyways, one at a time. Take a lot longer, but it's got to be done. Alrighty, so that took forever. So I got all these guys all bent up and ready to go. They're not all exact. I mean, you know, one at a time, there's going to be some variance in here. So, I mean, you can kind of see we got a few that flared out a little bit further than others and all that stuff. Not too terribly worried about that. It's, you know, doesn't have to be uniform. It's not machine made. It's mat made, and there's probably gonna be a few flaws, but you know, whatever, good enough. So I did run inside and bring the shop dogs out, so they're out here hanging out with me when I get to cutting. And well, I'm pretty much done with the cutting, but when I go to do the welding and everything, I'll put those guys back up so they're not getting, you know, arc flashed. So anyhow, I guess I'm gonna get the 10-inch strips, get those guys laid out. I think I can put 4 or 5 of them across here. And then that way I can get my measurements done and get my lines laid out. So that way I know where everything needs to go. And probably right after lunch, I'll be ready to start throwing some beads down. So I guess we'll catch back up then. All right, well, forgot to turn the camera back on. So what I'm doing is I've got 16 shelves per panel. 2 rows of 8, or 2 columns of 8, I guess you should say. So out of that, figure out the best spacing for them. On my other one, I only did 40 inches worth of panel. This one I have 48. The 48 I don't necessarily have to have, so I'll probably end up at the end of it trimming a little bit off the bottom, you know, 3 or 4 inches. So with the other one, I placed them, I think, 5 inches apart. 5-inch separation between each shelf. This one I'm actually, since I have a little bit more material to deal with, I'm going 5.5 inches, which I think will work out a little bit better. So what I've done so far is I've marked each side with a right, and then I've got a T at the top for the top, so I know I keep my orientation right. I've already gone through and I tack welded all of them together, just on the edge there. Just gave all of them a little tack, that way they don't move around, everything stays good and square. So this is essentially square-ish. Then I went through, started at the top, 5.5 inches down, made a mark. Every 5.5 inches down. So I got, last one was at 44, I think. I think it was 44 inches was the last. And then I basically did the same thing over here. So I've got a line there, or, you know, dots down there, dots down here. That way, whenever I go to throw my square in, I can just line up the 2 dots here, and that means I'm good and square all the way down. So then I'll just take and run my Sharpie down, make a line all the way across. Same thing for each one of these. Make my line all the way across. So that's going to be the orientation for the shelves, you know, up and down vertically, I guess you would say. Then I've got to get my horizontal, you know, spacing correct. And there's not a whole lot of spacing really needed here. It's just more or less making it aesthetically pleasing. So once I get my lines all done, going on the vertical side. Then I'll figure out what my orientation needs to be here for the horizontal, and then I'll mark it, and then do the same thing here, here, and here. And I've still got 3 panels over there that I've only got so much workspace. So I got 3 panels over there I've got to go back and redo all this on, but not that big a deal. So I'm gonna go through, make my marks all the way across these guys, so that way I have my vertical lines, and then I'll figure out my horizontal space in here in just a second. So I got everything measured out, laid out. So we are, all 8 of them are set up the exact same. We got 5.5 inch clearance between the shelves going vertically. And then we have 1.5 inches off the side for the first shelf, 6 inches for the second shelf. So that gives us a nice layout. So everything will lay out nice and clean. And then I still got to figure out the dowel pins, or the little dowel rods to make up to do my wire management going down. So still got some stuff to do. Next step really is just welding. So but it is lunch 30, and this fat guy's hungry, so I'm gonna go in and fix me a sandwich, and then I'll come back out and get to it, throwing some sparks, I suppose. So we'll catch back up here in a moment. Alrighty, so got me a full belly. I'm ready to start slinging some welds. So all I got is 4 small magnets. I got 2 big ones as well, but I don't want to deal with those guys. So 4 at a time. Lay them out so you can kind of see what the layout this thing's going to be. Those will be all the way down. So I got these all laid out. They're ready to go. So I'm just going to give a quick tack on 3 spots. One at the end, one at the side here, and then one on the side. Just give them 3 quick tacks, and then actually I may just do 2 tacks. I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. But the goal is get the whole thing tacked in, then give a little zip, and just run my way down, so that way I can keep warping and all that fun stuff to a minimum. So I guess I'm gonna get started. All right, folks, so next day, I worked on it last night, I don't know, 7 o'clock-ish. Ended up running out of battery, and I was just in the groove, so I wasn't worried about stopping and going and grabbing a battery. So I was just kind of just pushing on through. So I've got one pretty well done. Only thing that it's lacking is I got to drill some holes. We're using Velcro straps to hold everything down. So I got to drill some holes for the Velcro. But other than that, this one is good to go. So you can see what the final product is. So we got our shelves, we got our cable management. The cable management is not as exact as I usually would like. They're a little off because I was having a hard time getting my line laid out. But I mean, you can see what we're going for here. Only thing really left to do here is I'm gonna chop 4 inches off the bottom of it. That way I've got 48 inches of room, maybe 48 and a half inches of room inside our cabinet to fit these, but just make life a little bit easier. It's just overhang at the bottom, so I can cut 4 inches off of it. It'll be fine. So I'll probably do that on all these and drill all the holes and all that stuff whenever it comes time for paint, before paint. So yeah, so I've got all these guys ready to go, and man, those things are just bouncing my voice back like crazy. But then I've got, you know, this one, it doesn't have any of the cable management, and it's not a difficult design. It's not anything, you know, earth-shattering, groundbreaking, you know, really awesome thing. It's cool, but it's a very specific part for a very specific need that we needed at work. And nobody makes this thing, so I was just like, I can do it. So anyways, I did get a little hot. If you look down the side, you can kind of see how it kind of has a couple little warbles to it. You know, all of them got a little hot and warped a little bit, but it's, like I said, it's just going in the cabinet. It ain't doing anything super, you know, it's not super structural. It's just something that just holds some very light gear in it. So anyways, so yeah, so one is pretty well done. All I got to do left on that one is just drill holes, scuff and shoot. And then that one will be, and knock that 4 or so inches off the bottom. And then that'll be done. So I got 7 more that I've got to cut some, you know, just round stock. Let's see how many of these. Yeah, I got 7. So 7 of these I cut. What I'm cutting is 4 inch, and I'm bending 1 inch. So I should be able to get, what is that? 4 times 4 inch, that'd be 9. So I can get 9 of these per rod. So I get 9 4-inch sections per rod. I only need 8 for each shelf. So I have a few left over, which is great because I can use those on the next one, which I have another sheet that's already pre-cut, ready to go for a 9th one, which I'm half tempted to do that one to swap out the one that I made before, because I'm really just frankly ashamed of that one because it is 22 gauge steel and it is just, God, it is bad. So I'm really tempted to switch that one out and build another one to replace that one. So don't know if I'm gonna do that just yet or not. I'm just like, I really want to get these done since I'm on vacation next week, and I don't plan on doing stuff for work next week. I just want to get this done today. It's Friday. So as soon as I get all this stuff done, then it's off my plate and I ain't got anything to worry about for work for another week. So anyhow, I'm gonna get back to it, and I guess if you want to, follow along. All right, so I got all the cable management pegs cut and bent. It went a little quicker than I was anticipating, but that's, you know, that's not a bad thing. So got them all laid out, ready to go. And as far as spacing these guys, so this guy, I actually did measure a line out and took it all the way down. It was a little difficult because I kept bumping into the shelves as I was trying to mark it. So what I want to do this time, it ain't got to be perfect. It's just got to be pretty close. So what I'm going to do this time is I have this 1 1/8" nut. I'm going to take it, I'm going to set it right there on my corner. And then I'm just going to come off of this corner and mark it. And that's what I'm going to do all the way down. And then I'll go back and I'll drill them out. Go back and drill them out. That way I've got a hole that these guys will set down in. So they'll just set down in there. Basically, it'll set down in a hole right like that. I'll put a little tack on this side. And then I'll flip it all over once I got them all tacked. Flip it over and weld the back up. So that way they are good and they're going to be there for a while. So I guess I'm going to get started on that. We'll catch back up here in a minute. So I got a light coat of epoxy, not epoxy, etching primer on the back of this thing. Just a light coat. Don't need it to be real thick back here. It's the back, so I'm not too worried about how it looks. But I did go through and I drilled holes all through. Got that all done. I've actually already shot this with some paint, just some semi-gloss. It's still really wet, so it's really shiny, but this should be a semi-gloss whenever it's done. Drying, fixing to spray all this. Then I'm gonna let that set up and cure real good, probably overnight, and then tomorrow morning come back out, flip them all over, and then give the other side a good shot of epoxy, and then a shot of black, then let it sit and dry, and this stuff will be done. I did go back through before I put the etching primer on. I went back through and wiped it down with some more lacquer thinner just to get all my greasy fingerprints and dirt and dust and everything off. You know, once again, this isn't going to be a product that's going to be out and about and being seen by a ton of folks. This is literally going to be in a cabinet that's only going to get seen by just a handful of people. So not too concerned with the aesthetics of it, but we do want to at least keep it from rusting. So that's kind of where we're at, and I guess I'm just going to keep on painting and get this thing done, and I can stop for the night. So we'll catch up here in a bit. The backs are all black. Backs on black. Wait. So they're all black on the back. Super shiny right now. You can see some streaks in it and stuff. I might come back and haze coat it or something, but you know, this one's been drying a little bit longer. It's, you know, it's gonna take a minute for it to cure out good. So I'm gonna leave this stuff here and probably go ahead and button up for the night and rest my back, because staying hunched over welding and cutting and drilling and my back's screaming. I really need to make me a welding table, at least a mobile one that's you know, something I don't have to bend over whenever I'm welding on stuff. But anyways, so I'm gonna leave this stuff here for the night, and then tomorrow morning I'll come out here bright and early and get cracking on getting these guys prepped on the other side, which is going to take a lot longer because it got all the shelves and all the hooks and just a bunch of crap to deal with. So I'll get that all prepped up and get it in some primer and let it set up, and then shoot the other side tomorrow, and then hopefully sometime tomorrow I'll have a finished product I can show, and then here in a week or so I'll take and get them installed, and it'll be very nice. So anyways, I guess that's going to do it for today, and I'll catch back up with y'all tomorrow. All right, next day. So this stuff is sat and dried overnight. It looks really shiny on camera, but it's definitely a semi-gloss. It's not the smoothest coating. And I think a lot of that is the tip on the spray paint, and I can't figure out where I put the spray paint. Yeah, a lot of it is this tip does not put a big fan. It's more of a smaller, circle that it puts out. So the pattern's not the best to lay out a nice even coat, which really sucks. I generally, whenever I'm doing something black, I like to go with this Duplicolor. This stuff, it's great. It blends really nice. It lays out nice and smooth. You don't have you can see where the lines are, But again, this is going to be inside a cabinet. This is more for rust preventative than being, super, super shiny and nice and pretty to the eye. So not terribly worried about aesthetics, just more concerned about having paint on it that sticks and makes it look halfway decent, because we don't want this thing rusting out. So anyways, I'm gonna get over here. I'm gonna get these guys flipped over and start wiping them down, getting them ready for a etching primer. And then as soon as I get the etching primer on it, then we'll go to shooting it. So be back in a moment. Alrighty, so I got these 3 prepped and ready, so I'm gonna go ahead and get them a shot. Go ahead and get them some epoxy or etching primer on them. Mainly because there's a lot of spray painting fixing to happen here, and the old finger, thumb, finger, they're gonna get wore out pretty fast. So figure go ahead and knock these 3 out, get them with a coat of primer on them, let them, set up, because it'll be just a haze coat first shot, then a little heavier coat second shot, and that's about all the primer I can really put on them. It's just 2 really light coats. The paint that we are using is a primer and paint mix, so it does tend to cover a little bit better, but at least that etching primer will get in there and kind of set in on the metal pretty good. So I gotta give these a quick blow with some air just to knock some of the little fuzzies off and from my paper towels, and we'll be ready to throw some paint on. Well, alrighty. This, they are painted. It's not, you know, like I said, not terribly worried about aesthetics. Can't stress that enough. They're black, but, you know, like I said, they're still curing. This thing's, you know, this is drier than the other set that I just finished up. So, they're starting to haze a little bit. But, you know, these guys are super glossy right now because they are really, really wet. So, yeah, they're all painted. I'm gonna let them tack up good, and then I'm gonna get Jackson out here and we're gonna cart these things outside, set them in the driveway, let the sun bake on them pretty good for the rest of the day, and then I just got to get a boatload of zip ties set up on these things because that's what we're gonna hold the little 1x2 splitters in. There's some zip ties. Usually we'd use Velcro, but we're out of Velcro. Actually, we probably have enough Velcro to do like 1, maybe 2, but we're gonna try to keep this uniform. So I got a big bag of zip ties. I'll loop zip ties on every single one of these. That's gonna take a minute, but get all the zip ties on there. Then we'll get them all loaded up, and I will take them to the office and drop those off at the office, so that way they're not taking up valuable real estate here in the shop. So anyhow, once they've cured out good, I'll do another little show, especially with them out in the sun, and maybe I'll even do a quick little video of one of these guys installed on a cabinet. So alrighty, well, I guess till later, that'll be it. So we'll catch up with y'all in a while. Take it easy. All right, folks, so this right here was my first attempt at it. So, you know, like I said, 12, I cut it down to 10 inches wide, but these were 12 by 24. I think I cut them down to 10 by 20, maybe 24. I don't remember, honestly. It's been a minute. But yeah, these are the original ones I did, and you can kind of see I screwed up and didn't, I was off by 1/8 of an inch, so I had to flare these ends out in order to make the little splitters fit in there, and you can tell it doesn't quite sit. So that's why on the new ones they don't have the edge on them. Figured that was just the part that I really didn't need. So so anyway, so this is my first version of it, and so I got the new versions. Unfortunately, I'm not at a cabinet that has the new versions in it yet, so I think I'll be at one later today. So if I am, I'll show that guy to you, and I guess we'll catch up then. All right, folks, so finally got to a cabinet where I've got one of the fresh ones that I did earlier in the video. I got this guy installed. We don't have it filled out just yet. Pretty much we're just using it as we need it. So it's not completely filled out yet, but here's what we got so far. So you can see we got our splitters all laid out up here. It was out of Velcro, so we're using big old honking zip ties. We're gonna find a smaller size zip tie to use instead, but anyways, you can see we can set eight on a shelf. Got plenty of room. They sit in there pretty nice. I'm a little crooked on my labeling, but don't judge. Then we got you know, this one, this is a partial, so we're not ready for the last 3 splitters on this guy yet, but we are ready to go for the rest of them. We're just feeding them in through this little loop going over to the equipment. So so that's that. So with that, I'll go ahead and wrap it up. Appreciate y'all guys for watching. If you would, go ahead and hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button too. If you want to see more vehicle related content, head over to my other channel, Good Enough Customs. I'll throw a link down at the bottom as well, or up top maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So anyways, appreciate it, guys. We'll see you next time with another one from the Good Enough stuff. So just remember, ain't got to be perfect, just good enough. We'll holler at y'all later.